I'm Jason Gardner, leadership instructor with Echelon Front, retired Mass Chief with 30 years in the SEAL teams. And today we're talking about taking care of yourself and taking care of your people. And when we talk about leadership, step one is to step in front of the mirror and look at yourself, because that's the first place that you've got to fix all the problems. You cannot lead efficiently if you're all tangled up in your emotions. In fact, I bet there's nobody out there who's made a great decision when they're angry. You can't lead, if you're not feeling good, you're not at the top of your game. If all these things are off and you're not in a good place, this directly affects your ability to lead. And so whenever we talk about leadership, we start with a point of extreme ownership, and that it's all about you. So over the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of exploring and looking at a lot of the different science and things that are included with just better health, working through my own struggles with PTSD, low testosterone counts, all these other health issues that I was having from the Navy. I was super lucky in that I had all these resources, and I could go to the hospital and get 14 vials of blood drawn and have them look at everything. And that I'd really delved into the stuff, like some of these doctors like Peter Attia, who's been on the Jocko podcast, Rhonda Patrick, who's been on Rogan a bunch of times, and they're really interested in your overall health and things you can do to be healthier. And the fact of the matter is, you are going to be better at whatever you're doing if you're healthier. So I'm going to start sharing my screen right now, and we'll start going through this. Okay, there we are. The first thing about taking care of yourself is sleep. Now, for a long time, there was kind of this ego thing that went on that's, hey, I can function on less sleep. And during a crisis situation, you absolutely have to. However, over the long term, cutting into your sleep is really, really bad for your health. Sleep is the absolute foundation that the pillars of diet and exercise rest upon. So for a lot of you, you're probably doing shift work. And that means that you're thrown off the normal circadian rhythm, whereas, as human beings, we're supposed to be sleeping when it's dark and awake during the day. And all of our hormonal cycles based on light and everything else are moving to support that. And then you're working where you've got to work a night shift, and that's difficult. While it's not ideal, if you practice some good sleep hygiene and you attempt to be disciplined about your sleep, this is really, really going to help you do the best you can with what is a bad situation that is shift work. And when I talk about good sleep hygiene, that means that you're not watching the TV right before you go to sleep. And if you are watching the TV or looking at a screen right before you go to sleep, you can there's a setting that the Apple devices have on them called nighttime setting, where they block the blue light, or you can put on the gamer's glasses or the blue light blocker glasses. And what these do is that the blue light waves hit the back of your retina, and they're essentially telling your brain that it's daytime outside, which is then having your brain produce a bunch of cortisol, which is there to keep you awake. And it's mildly a stress hormone as well. And then as your cortisol levels go down when there's less light, then that triggers your body making its own melatonin. But if you're looking at a TV screen, you're not cycling your cortisol correctly. And so those are issues. So turning all those lights off, And if it's daytime and you're trying to sleep, you got to black out the room as best you can. And short of being able to do that, you might want to get those blinders. They essentially look like a Lone Ranger mask with no eye holes, and cover that out so you can get down and get some good sleep. All right. If you're not getting good sleep, and the scientific data, and I'm basing a lot of the stuff I'm saying on Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, is that, you know, you need to get, as a normal adult, 6 to 7 hours. Getting that, you're cognitively impaired. And what that means is that you're not at the top of your game. You can't make good decisions as fast as you would had you been getting the normal amount of sleep. 4 stages to sleep. You've got your light sleep, REM sleep, which is your rapid eye movement sleep. This is where you dream. And then your stage 3 and 4 sleep. And stage 3 and 4, they're the deeper levels of sleep. They come after the REM sleep. And you work through that whole cycle in like an hour and a half. And you cycle through light sleep, REM sleep, the stage 3 and 4 sleep, and then boom, back up to light sleep over the course of a night several times. Now, you get into that stage 3 and 4, that's when your body is doing all of its cellular repair. That's when your body is making all the hormones that you need. Your brain actually dilates and is flushed out with cerebral spinal fluids that are cleaning out a lot of these amyloid plaques that is essentially gunk in your brain. And people feel like this is one of the big precursors to Alzheimer's. Really important that you allow your body to get into those sleeps. If you look at any of the doctors right now that are talking about powerlifting and weightlifting, they're going to tell you, hey, if you want to get your maximum goals and you want to burn fat, you need to start getting some good sleep to build muscle and do all that. My testosterone levels were low. I had sleep apnea. I wound up getting a mask. I had hypothyroid, so I had issues with my thyroid. And when I got disciplined about my sleep, it cleaned all that stuff up. Now I've got my testosterone levels are fairly high for my age, and that's a combination of everything we're going to talk about today. But the foundation of it is good sleep. So the good sleep hygiene, in your bedroom, you want to try and keep it cool in your bedroom if at all possible as well. Okay, prescription sleep aids do not result in real sleep. It sedates you and you're sedated, so you're out for a period of time, but it is not real sleep. So if you're one of those folks that's like me, and I've talked to a lot of folks out there that are like this, that has taken Ambien to go to sleep, you need to stop it. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to start supplementing with some magnesium in the evenings, taking very, very small doses of melatonin. There's some other things out there that you can look at for doing, but you need to stay away from NyQuil or any of these prescription sleep aids. They're anything but like, maybe like some GABA or chamomile or something that's just going to help you to calm down, or sleepy time tea. That's good. And it's going to take some discipline, but it's really important that you do it because it's wrecking you that you're not getting good sleep by taking the Ambien. Next thing, caffeine and alcohol. Okay. Caffeine's got a 12-hour half-life in your body, and it does affect your sleep. So if you're on a normal sleep schedule, you should probably, and by normal, I mean you're probably going to bed around 10 o'clock. Then that means around noon, you should stop drinking caffeine. That should be your last caffeine. If you're taking caffeine all day, it's rocketing your caffeine levels. It's in your body for 12 hours. It's throwing off your ability to get in those deep levels of sleep I'm talking about, where your body's doing all its healing and repair. Alcohol. You can get away with one drink with dinner. That second drink at dinner time is going to completely throw off your sleep architecture. So you've got two options here. One is you start drinking earlier in the day, which I don't recommend, or two, just have one drink with dinner. If you're going to have a night where you're having more than one drink, just realize, hey, there's a price I'm paying for this more than one beer or wine or whiskey or whatever, and the price is I'm throwing my sleep off. I'm going to pay for it later. So just know that. So that's pretty good on sleep. Okay, diet. There's a lot of different, it's just a lot of different diets out there. People get pretty attached to them. And so I'm not going to, tell you which one I think is best. I've looked at all the diets out there, and essentially, for the most part, they're saying these things: avoid sugar. All right. Sugar is just spiking your insulin. Insulin is really important because insulin is what moves nutrients into your cells and takes toxins out of your cells. And if your insulin is spiked all day long, you get what's called insulin resistance. And that means that your body is not able to move nutrients in or take toxins out very well. And it results in inflammation. And you can wind up with chronic inflammation. And there's a lot of people that have it where they're just walking around all the time in pain because of they're inflamed. So you want to avoid sugar. You want to avoid processed foods, right? And processed foods, man, it's a TV dinner. It's anything that you're microwaving. Those things that they put a bunch of preservatives in them, so they've got a long shelf life. Those are things that you need to try to avoid. And when you can, cook, buy stuff at the grocery store and cook. And you might have time for it. And so maybe a workaround for you is spending a bunch of time one day a week and cooking all your meals for that week and throwing them in the freezer or throwing them in the fridge. Again, this is another thing that we talk about. It's simple, not easy. You need to be disciplined about it. Now, the last point here: include fermented foods for a healthy microbiome. Inside of all of our guts, we have got a whole host of bacteria. In fact, for every one cell of you walking around, there's at least 10 cells of bacteria that are living in your gut, helping you to digest food. And you can get colonies of bad bacteria in there. You can get colonies if you're drinking too much yeast in there that essentially will be poisoning you because of them breaking down the food and whatever they're leaking out of them as a byproduct to that. So you want to include fermented foods and get good bacteria in your belly because it is going to help you make you much healthier. There's a lot of studies out there that indicate they've reversed symptoms of depression with people just by correcting how jacked up their microbiome is. So what are fermented foods? I'm talking about kimchi. I'm talking about the good sauerkraut that you can get at Trader Joe's. I'm talking about kombucha and things like that. All those are fantastic for you. So I've got like 3 bullet points for you to think about a diet. Another thing on diet is consider interval eating. And what that is, interval eating is where you're just like eating during an 8 or a 6 hour window every day. And what that does is it gives your body an opportunity not to be digesting something. So if I go over to the fridge here and I put something in my mouth and chew it up, for the next 12 hours, my body is in digestion mode. And when my body finally finishes digestion mode, it switches gears and it turns into cellular regeneration, detoxification, all that other stuff. Body get an opportunity to get in that mode every day. So that's why interval eating is important and snacking isn't good. And the reality is whenever you eat, you're spiking your insulin. So having your in the day is helpful. I do a different thing. I'm like in an 8 hour window, and then I do a 36 hour fast every Monday. I found that to be helpful. And it's my testosterone levels are higher. and my growth hormone is up. The data seems to indicate from what I've read, if you do a 24-hour fast, your growth hormone levels come up fivefold. So I like that. And I like the fact that my testosterone levels are higher now as well. Okay. Exercise. You got to make time for it every day. And you don't need to join a gym. Now, sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's helpful to join a gym so you can get in there and get with a personal trainer who's going to motivate you, or go to your CrossFit box and work out with a bunch of other people, because there's a bunch of, that's true. When you're working out with other people, you're going to work way harder than you would when you're doing your own workout. That's so those are good things too. But in a COVID environment, or maybe you don't have enough money to join a gym, or it's too far away, you don't need it to exercise. But at least do something to break a sweat and get outside and do it. It's really going to help you in the long run to clear your head. And it is proven to stop down and slow cognitive decline. And it seems kind of counterintuitive to me. To me, it seems like doing crossword puzzles or doing something with your mind would be more important. But apparently, cognitive decline, you want to slow it down. Good cardiovascular exercise is the way to do it. So there we go with that. Now, this last thing, and this is really important for all of us in the first responder community, is stress. And stress management, and taking care of ourselves and taking care of other people. All right? Sleep, diet, exercise, all those things that I just talked about, these are going to go a long way to help you managing your stress. There's a picture of me petting a military working dog here. And luckily it wasn't, some of our working dogs overseas, if you go to pet them, they're going to chew your face off. But there were a few that were really socialized, and there would be a line to pet these dogs. And it's because when you pet an animal, and if you're a dog lover or cat lover, it really doesn't matter. When you sit down and you make some time to just pet them, it's almost the same thing as you doing some meditation. It's going to let all that stress from the day, and whatever your boss said to you during the day, and whatever happened on the last call you went on the day, it's going to melt all that crap away, because you just get to bathe in the unconditional love that that animal has for you. And so it's really important. Be disciplined about it, be deliberate about it, and make that time for yourself to relieve the stress. Now, we talk to friends, coworkers, and loved ones and professionals about your friction points. When I came back from my 2009 deployment to Afghanistan, it was a really, really violent deployment. I was a hot mess. I was addicted to Ambien. I was drinking way too much. And my wife says to me, after being home for 2 weeks, she's like, "Hey, would you please go see one of the psychs at work, because you're not the same person you were when you left." And because I love her, I was like, okay, I got a hold of the psych, and I started doing appointments. And with that one psych, and then the next guy that relieved him was awesome, and I stuck with him for the rest of my career. So essentially another 10 years. And I'd go on my cadence was about once every 2 weeks. I'd, cut on an hour to go see him. And unfortunately, our psych's offices are hidden way back because there's a stigma about it, right? And there's a stigma about going to seek mental health, that you're admitting to weakness. And it's really unfortunate. And I felt that way when I went to go see him, but then I would go to see him, and they would be such great experiences, because they would work me so hard. It was like leg day, and I would physically be exhausted when I came out of those meetings, and or those sessions, or whatever you want to count them. The bottom line, what I'm here to tell you is if you want to be a better person, if you want to be a better spouse, if you want to be a better parent, and you have an opportunity to sit down with a professional, do it. Why wouldn't you? Do it. And you owe it to all of the people that work with you to do it, because they may be carrying a lot heavier loads than you are. And when they see you go in, they know it's okay for them to go in. So that's it. Now, I've had buddies over the next several combat deployments after that, and I would see in them the exact same issues that I was having. I would see them with like a 2-second wick where they would go from 0 to 60 in completely high order in like 2 seconds. And I knew that they were suffering from the same stuff I was suffering from. And it was working through with the psych, and I was doing a heck of a lot better with it now. And so instead of saying to them, hey man, you just lost your temper right now. What's that about? Now, instead of doing that, the approach that I took was I'd hit them up in the gym, or maybe in the coffee mess, or maybe when we're picking up brass at the range. And I'm just going to say the guy's name is Roger. And there was like 3 or 4 guys actually that I did this with. But for example, here's the conversation I had with these people in different locations over a course of different time. And let's just say we're out picking up brass. And I'd be like, hey, Roger, how's it going? And he'd be like, oh, not bad, Master Chief. Hey, Roger, you know what? You know what I've been struggling with lately? And anytime you're vulnerable, people pay attention. So now he's focused in on me, and he's like, no, what? And I'm like, man, my temper. I am getting mad at just the smallest things that really later on, when I think about them, they don't even matter. They don't matter. And I'm getting mad at this stuff. And some days, on most days, I'm driving home from work, kind of frustrated about how things went at work or what's going on or whatever. And I get home and my kids are running all over the house and there's toys everywhere. My wife's there. And the first thing I start doing is just yelling at everybody, when I should be delighted that my kids are in my house and their toys everywhere, and they're running around yelling because they're being kids. And it's something that I'm working real hard on. And then they'll say something back like, wow, huh? And then I'll say, anyway, I've been seeing the psych lately, and the guy's, damn, the guy is good. And it's really been helping me out, but I'm still struggling quite a bit. And then I just leave it alone, and I watch, and I wait, maybe a week or so. And then I'll hit him up, usually right after I come back from the psych. And I'll say to him, hey, I just got back from a meeting with the psych. It was a really good one. I think I'm making a lot of progress on dealing with my anger. And here's his number. It would be a huge favor to me if you would give him a call and at least try talking to him once. And every time they did it. And here's the things: when people get trapped in depression, the first thing that they're doing is they stop talking to other people. And as human beings, we're social animals, and we need to interact with other people. So just talking with people helps relieve that stress. And then, man, maybe you went out on a call and you saw some horrible stuff happen to a wonderful family, and now they're just all gone. Or some little kids, that you're could be pulling out of a closet or fishing out of a pool, and it hurts. And that hurt inside you is poison, and it's going to poison you unless you're willing to talk about it with your coworker, because they all have the same struggles, and they got the same big rocks in their backpack that you've got. So be open, talk to each other. The levels of suicide right now are unacceptable, and we need to watch out for each other, and we need to lean into this and show some compassion and empathy for all the folks we're working for, and to do the best we can to help them out. Okay, beware of self-medication. And that means just, be advised if you're having to take anti-stress drugs or anti-anxiety drugs, or if you're drinking 4 beers every night, you're self-medicating. And that's not going to fix the issue. It's just hiding it, and the issue's growing the more and more you hide it, and the more and more you don't deal with it. So just know that. Try to practice mindfulness. And what that is mindfulness is just looking internally and being aware of what your body is doing, so that you're aware of all the red flags that indicate that you've gotten angry or you've become stressed. And for me, those are like, I can feel my pulse in my temples, and I will start to make fists, and I can tell by my thought patterns and how fast the negative thought loop can pick up that, oh, I'm starting to get stressed out, I'm starting to get angry, and then through an internal dialogue, I can back myself out of it. And that's what mindfulness is just being aware of what you've got going on in your body. And essentially, you're going to have to train yourself to control your stress. And you could do that with the help of a professional. You can do that by practicing mindfulness, and it doesn't happen overnight. And there isn't a pill that anyone can give you that can fix that. There are pills that they can give you for depression or whatever that are going to help break you out of a really bad cycle. But at the end of the day, it's going to take hard work and discipline to be able to get past all these things. So that pretty much wraps it up. I think it's a real pertinent thing to talk about, because when we do talk about leadership, it comes down to us and doing the best we can to stay healthy so that we are on the top of our game, because that's what our teams deserve, and that's what our community deserves, is us being at the top of our game to support them. And that's all I got. Cody?